arguably the best receiver in all of football. Marcus Wheaton, they got players at wide receiver. They're an explosive offense. They went in to the game against Cleveland this last week, starting Landry Jones, their third-string quarterback, who had started 1 or 2 games for him in place of Ben and Michael Vick, who was the original number 2 quarterback, this season. Well, Landry Jones is out there first quarter. He gets hurt. Ben Roethlisberger was active, just not starting. He goes out there then, has to come in subbing off the bench, for the third-string guy who was playing above him. Comes in, throws for over 400 yards. They win 30-9. Afterwards, they asked him, what his secret was. He said he drank a lot of milk. I think that was a huge, slap in the face at the medical staff on his team, the coaching staff, whoever determined and assessed that he, could dress but should not be the option at starting quarterback. And he just went out there and proved him wrong big time. So Big Ben was back, and that actually cost me a fantasy win. Had they just announced Big Ben from the start, I would have played him on my team, and I would have won that game. Since they said he was active but not starting, and that Landry Jones is going to start, I played my other quarterback, who did mediocre, but it was a close game, where I want to say, like, the quarterback I played got me 16, Ben got me 29, and I lost by less than 10, to where that 13-point difference was huge. It determined it. So, yeah, got to get my fantasy sob story in there for you. But moving on to last week's game results, we had the Cowboys losing another one in embarrassing fashion at Tampa Bay by a score of 10-6. Good news for the Cowboys. Tony Romo will be returning as their starting quarterback next week. Dez Bryant is back. News for the Bucs. Jameis Winston continues to look okay. Doug Martin is the 5th leading rusher in all of football this year. Welcome back, Doug Martin. Why did I take a chance on you last year in fantasy football and not this year, jerk? And boy, I don't think there's a Greg Hardy story this week. It's probably a Jerry Jones story, but I like to forget those ones. Oh yeah, the other story with the Cowboys, they will cut Brandon Weeden. Makes no sense. If you look at the statistics when Weeden came in and when Castle came in, Weeden had like a 20-point better quarterback rating, a 10% better completion percentage, the same touchdown to interception ratio. So, unfortunate for Brandon Weeden. He will get picked up by somebody sometime soon. It might be a week or two is all, but I would think he'd have a job here very soon for someone as a new backup. Then is in what was undoubtedly the shocker of the week. The Detroit Lions go on the road into Green Bay and beat them, escaping with a win, 18-16. Neither team played good in this game, is the honesty of it. It wasn't that the Lions played great. Lions made a few plays here and there when they had the opportunity to. Packers made a few plays late when the Lions were trying to choke it and throw it away. Calvin Johnson drops the freaking onside kick attempt, and the Packers get the ball back with the opportunity to win the game with a field goal. They attempt like a 52-yard field goal, something like that, and Mason Crosby just shanks it. They got lucky. But either way, the Packers lose their 3rd straight, and the Lions get a win in Green Bay, which hasn't happened in forever. Let's see, any other stories there? Well, we'll have more Packers talk on the Purple Vein portion here coming up real soon, where we devote it strictly to Vikings. And the Lions, yeah, they won. Hooray. That was their 2nd win of the year. Then we had the Carolina Panthers remain undefeated beating the Tennessee Titans, one of the worst teams in all of football, in Tennessee by a score of 27-10. Let's see, stories here for Tennessee. Nothing really, other than they fired Ken Wisenhunt, their head coach, like a week or two ago. I don't remember when that one is. It's Malarkey's their interim coach now. I think Cobb at running back's coming back here any day now, possibly. Mariota looks great when he's healthy out there at quarterback. But that's about all they got right now yet. Carolina, undefeated. Very surprising. They got Josh Norman, defensive back, the best defensive back in all of football this year right now. Their defense is excellent as a result of it. They got a good front seven, too. That's really where they're winning their games on. Their offensive line is overachieving. Their running game is solid with Jonathan Stewart and Cam Newton. Their passing game stinks. Look at the Panthers' passing statistics, both as a team and the quarterback statistics. They stink. They're awful. And yet, because they're 9-0 and Cam Newton is the only star on the offense, he's in the frickin' MVP talks now. Well, it's Tom Brady or Cam Newton. You got to give Cam Newton some credit. Like, no, you don't. Look at Cam Newton's numbers. He's been terrible this year. Well, not terrible, but he has not been. He's been borderline good, and the MVP is the best of the best. Cam Newton's not any. Cam Newton's one of the 10 worst quarterbacks thus far this season. If you listen to the show, you'd know that from last week's episode. But they're still 9-0. Rivera, Coach of the Year thus far in Carolina. That's where your award should be going to if you want to give someone an award for their success. And then a bunch of Pro Bowl bids to their defensive players and a few offensive linemen would be a good idea as well. If you're looking to pass out credit for the Carolina Panthers. Then we had the Dolphins beat Philadelphia in Philly 20-19. Philadelphia threw that one away. Sam Bradford went down late in the fourth quarter with an injury. I believe he is going to be out at least a couple weeks, if not longer. Mark Sanchez came in. They're down at like the 10-yard line, second down. It's 20-19 yet at this point. 4 minutes to go approximately. Sanchez throws a pick, and that's half on Sanchez, half on Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, your backup quarterback's in there. You're down by 1. You're at the 10-yard line. It's second down. Run the ball. You have DeMarco Murray and Ryan Matthews. Run the ball. And then on third down, do a play action to where he can run, scramble with it, for out of the quarterback position. He's got some moving targets and some moving options that he can hit. Or he can throw it out of bounds. And you can simply kick the field goal and take a 2-point lead with under 4 minutes to play in the game at home. Stupid. Chip Kelly. He's in our Stum Hall of Fame. Stupid, dumb, Stum. Eagles lose as a result of Chip Kelly's stumbness last week, 19-20. Washington Redskins win at home over the New Orleans Saints by a score of 47-14. As a result, I did pick the winner of that correctly. As a result of that game and the Saints having like the worst points allowed in the whole NFL throughout the entire season, defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints, Rob Ryan, Rex's brother, longer-haired brother, has been fired. They got a new interim guy, and I don't know that Rob will get any work before, the end of this current season. And Saints continue to just be, super frustrating. If you're a Saints fan, I'm glad I'm not. But just the few times I watched, they're a frustrating team. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars hang on to win by the seat of their pants, I want to say on a game-winning field goal that they shouldn't have even been able to kick in the first place, over the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore by a score of 22-20. Vikings are your winners over the Oakland Raiders, 30-14 in Oakland. I'll give you a little more detail on that soon. Chiefs beat the Broncos in Denver. That was a huge shocker, 29-13. Stories here other than the huge upset. Denver Broncos lose their second straight after starting undefeated. Peyton Manning passes Brett Favre on the all-time list, and for number one on the all-time list of passing yards in the history of the NFL. He then proceeds to throw 3 more interceptions to the one he threw before that, for a total of 4 interceptions, no touchdowns, like 30-some yards. He had a quarterback rating of 0.0. That's only happened a handful of times in the history of football, like 11, somewhere in there. And he ultimately gets benched in the second half for backup Brock Osweiler. It is then revealed that he has a foot injury and will not be returning, and is also not playing this next week. Hard to say how much that foot injury was affecting his performance in that game. He hasn't looked particularly good at any point this year, and he would be, either he or Nick Foles are your worst starting quarterbacks in all of football this year, statistically speaking, by far. So the story there is, have we seen the end of Peyton Manning at all in a Broncos uniform? I definitely don't think so. I think he will come back in a week or two healthy, regardless of what Brock Osweiler does, and at least get another starting opportunity or two. However, should Brock Osweiler play exceptionally well in his stead, and then combine that with Peyton Manning returning and stinking up the joint and losing games that they were winning with Brock, then you make the change. And I don't think there's any hard feelings when you do it. But the plan for now, and this is what will happen, regardless of success, it will be a health issue. And when I say regardless of success, I mean both personal performance and team wins and losses. If Peyton Manning is healthy in a week or two, that is when he will be starting. Until then, Brock Osweiler is the starter, regardless of how great the team or Brock plays. Until Peyton is healthy. Once Peyton is healthy, he will be renamed the starter and given that job back. It might only last 2-3 games, 1 game, 2 quarters, 1 quarter, a series. I don't know how long it will last, but he will be given that courtesy. He has earned it. Let's see the last couple games last week. Then we'll get to next week, this coming week. New England Patriots win in a super close one that could have went either way. Giants really should have won this. In New York, the Giants lose to the Patriots 27-26. Nothing too noteworthy other than it was a great close game at the end there. At least not that I recall. Sunday night game, we had the Arizona Cardinals winning on the road at Seattle 39-32. Seahawks looked good. Cardinals were just a little bit better. Cardinals are for real, yo. They are, in my opinion, the number 1 team in the NFC, but we'll get to that in just a moment, too. No injuries or news or anything like that, really, I don't think. And then on Monday night, in what I thought was going to be a boring, predictable snoozer rout, we ended up having a boring, snoozer, unpredictable defensive matchup where the Houston Texans hand the Cincinnati Bengals their first loss in front of the Cincinnati Bengals hometown crowd by a final score of 10-6. The fact that the Texans defense held the Cincinnati Bengals offense, which had been one of the 5 best all around in all of football this year, to 6 points at home is astonishing, especially considering that the Houston Texans defense hadn't been doing anything this season whatsoever. So I don't know how to explain that one at all. But it happened, and now the Bengals are no longer undefeated. The only undefeateds that remain are the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. So our division standings look this way, playoff picture, whatever you want to call it. In the AFC East, we got the Pats at 9-0, the Bills at 5-4, the Jets at 5-4, and the Dolphins at 4-5. All 3 of those teams out of it for the division race in all reality, but very much in it for a wild card spot. Then in the AFC North, we have the 8-1 Bengals in first place, followed by the 6-4 Steelers. So long as Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger can both be and stay healthy, they definitely are a favorite for one of the 2 wild card spots, in my opinion. Followed by the 2-7 Ravens and the 2-8 Browns.